Support for WMNF comes from USF College of Public Health, committed to creating a world where health is accessible to all. The fall application deadline is May 1. More information is at publichealth.usf.edu.
Hi, this is Steve Berlin of Los Lobos. You're listening to WMNF, Tampa, Florida.
The opinions presented on the Healthy Steps show are the evidence-based opinions of Dr. Fred Harvey, the callers, and his guests. These are not the opinions of the staff, the volunteers, or the board of WMNF. The information provided on the show is not intended to diagnose or treat any disease. There is no implied patient-physician relationship in these calls. The nature of the calls is educational and informational only.
Good morning to you, my kindred friends, and welcome to the Healthy Steps radio show here on WMNF Tampa, where both truth and great music proudly call it their home and the only community radio station that General Buck Turgensen would ever stream, and you can stream us as well at WMNF.org. Today is Ask Me Anything Monday, so if you have any medical questions or concerns, just give us a little jingle at 813-239-9663. Irene has dedicated her morning to taking your calls, so again, that number to call is 813-239-9663. You can also send an email to dj@wmnf.org or text us at 813-433-0885. Well, Dr. Fred, AMA always seems to allow you to bring out the best in our listeners. And I'm always excited about the almost limitless possibilities of AMA Monday, so let's get this show on the road. Take it away, Dr. Harvey.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and thank you, Bill, for another great intro.
Always my pleasure, and glad to be here with you, Doctor.
Wonderful. So much happens these days that it's like the news just doesn't stop rolling out all kinds of interesting things. And I just ran across an article that was published just last week, exactly a week ago, March 24th. It's really a kind of distressing headline, essentially, or actually a title for the article. It's an original investigation published in the Journal of the American Medical Association. And it's titled Avoidable Mortality Across U.S. States and High-Income Countries. It's kind of hidden there. It's not telling you what's going on, but what actually it tells us is that avoidable mortality in the United States from 2009 to 2019, this is pre-pandemic, compared with pre-pandemic Europe, was found to have a significant increase in avoidable deaths. And avoidable means things that could be preventable when we pay attention. And in all of the other first world, there has been a decline in avoidable deaths. In that 10-year span, there was a 25 death per 100,000 decrease in Europe. But in America, we had a 33 per 100,000 increase. So it's a 58 human difference in death rates between other first world countries and America, which is now becoming a second to third world country based on our ability to take care of our citizens. And it's really noticeable that there was a bigger, like all states in America increased, but there were certain states that deprived people of access to illness care that have higher rates. You can guess where they are. New York had a 5-person per 100,000 increase, and West Virginia had a 100-person per 100,000 increase. And so that vast difference, we know, has a lot to do with these external causes. External causes like accidents. Well, there's no such thing as an accident. How about a car wreck? Homicide, suicide, drug-related deaths, and alcohol-related deaths. Well, we know that we dealt with, from 2009 to 2019, a opioid pandemic promoted by the Sackler family. You know, the Sacklers from Purdue Pharma that made billions on the deaths of Americans while ignoring that there was an epidemic. That's part of it. But that's not all of it, because we have a very sick population. We have the highest obesity rates in the world. This contributes because in adipose tissue, fat tissue, we store all the petrochemical toxins, the mold toxins, the toxic metals that have been tried to decontaminate, but they're stuck in our bodies, causing problems, miscommunication, and illness. And truly, drug overdose was 71% of the increase in America. It's pretty sad. We were losing people simply because of this profiteering by the Sackler family that they really haven't actually paid any restitution for. They gave a couple of dollars away, but not one of them is in jail. But all nations from 2019 to 2021 had an increase in preventable deaths. They call COVID deaths, COVID-related deaths, preventable. But the funny thing is, they blocked our access to ivermectin, which would have decreased mortality by about 70%. They were placing all their bets on this stupid shot. And that makes it even funnier when you find out that RFK fired the guy that helped Trump with Operation Warp Speed to get mRNA into our arms. He fired him. RFK is dangerous. I just wanted to lead into this with the mortality statistics because he's not going to help that. In fact, we're already seeing him begin his damage tenure in our government. Remember, this guy's a lawyer who worked on environmental issues. So he knows a little bit about toxins, but he doesn't know anything about healthcare. But he thinks he does, and he makes all kinds of weird statements about it. And he's downplaying the measles outbreak in our country right now. He just hired a trial lawyer like him to, open quotes, study, close quotes, the link that we have between vaccines and autism. Well, you know, it's kind of crazy to be trying to do that because there are massive studies done. There was one study that looked at 600,000 kids in the Netherlands, I believe it was, or in Denmark, somewhere in Northern Europe. And they found no direct association. The problem is they're looking at it the wrong way. They're not looking in the at-risk kids because there's multiple factors that create autism, and some of it's got to do with having a sick kid that's predisposed. An already inflamed system that you add more toxin to tends to do that. There are some eloquent studies done that show the one of the contaminants in vaccines is mercury. It's used as a preservative, small doses. But there's actually some really elegant study done that shows that the relative accumulation of mercury, the relative dose-related amount of mercury in all the shots is related to health outcomes in kids. And so functional medicine understands that multiple types of toxicity in one person at one time can create a scenario of illness. Western medicine doesn't actually buy into that scenario. They don't understand that multiple different chemicals are going to cause discommunication. 5G and other microwaves are causing discommunication. And the immune stimulation from a vaccine causes discommunication because the system's inflamed. Getting a COVID-19 shot of mRNA that makes you make spike protein induces an inflammatory syndrome because spike protein triggers the cytokine storm that we call COVID-19. You can get mild COVID-19 symptoms from getting the shot because that's what it does. But it's a time-limited thing because the mRNA stops making the spike protein after a time, unlike the virus, which can keep going and going and going. He also recently, RFK Jr., that is, fired, I mentioned, fired the man at the FDA that Trump had accelerate warp speed. And the really big thing is there's going to be a brain drain in our medical science. People are getting pushed out of these big research operations. They're eliminating a significant amount of HIV research, for example. 300 research projects are just canceled. I think it's because there's quite a good possibility that this administration believes that this is punishment and these people need to die. I hate to say it, but I mean, that's basically the kind of sentiment that's coming out of these people. And that makes it even more important that we really pay attention to our health. We need to pay attention to what we do daily in making those healthy steps decisions so that we can stay on a pathway headed towards vibrant, optimal health. And so with that, I think that I would love to entertain a conversation about what you want to do in your healthy steps on the Healthy Steps Show today.
And I think that's a fair expectation, and I've got Bernard and Lee that are willing to grant that little wish of yours, but I want to encourage other people to participate as well. You are listening to the Healthy Steps Radio Show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa, and to participate, give us a call, 813-239-9663. Again, that number is 813-239-9663. And a few of you have already sent on in some emails, so the secret to that is send it to dj@wmnf.org. Let's go to Bernard, been waiting patiently. Good morning to you there.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hi.
Here's my question. I work outside, and I do a lot of walking, and at least 3 times a month, not 3 times a month, but 3 times a week I walk for an hour. I leave the house 30 minutes, come back 30 minutes. But last week, myself and my lady friend had to go downtown, and we had to go up 5 stairs because the elevator was broke. And I tell you, by the time we hit that 5th floor, we was totally wiped out. So I'm trying to find out why is it, or what is it that caused it so hard to walk up 5 stairs of flight? Because
Yes.
if I had to go another 5 stairs, and if my life depended on it, I don't think I could have made it. So I get off and...
Hey, Bernard, before you leave, how old are you?
I'm right at 68.
68. My biggest concern for you, my friend, is that you're doing a really good job with the daily walking, but it's not strenuous. When you exerted yourself, you got really fatigued. And at your age, that could be a sign of coronary artery disease. Your heart may be getting starved for oxygen and blood flow. And so you might want to actually go talk to a good doctor about getting a stress test or getting further evaluated for the potential of cardiovascular illness.
Okay. Well, I know about 3 years ago, I did have 2 stents put in.
Oh, well, then this could be that you had progressive disease and you need to get evaluated. That's really a sign when you don't have chest pain. You don't have to have chest pain to have cardiovascular compromise. You can just get really fatigued.
Yeah, and I definitely did. Okay.
Yeah, you got to go see a cardiologist.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right, then Lee from Ruskin. Good morning to you there, Lee.
Good morning, doctor.
Good morning.
A friend of mine takes, I also take verapamil for high tension, but he's gone to smoking dope every morning, marijuana, and he said that keeps his blood pressure in check. Are you have any input on that whatsoever?
Well, there is some evidence that using cannabis can affect your physiology, and it is something that may calm down blood pressure, but it might also increase it because some people get a surge of adrenaline from using it, and they can get fast heart rates and other things. So I wouldn't depend on cannabis for blood pressure control.
Well, if you don't get get all buzzed up, what's the other side of that? If I smoke, I just want to sit down and go to sleep normally.
Yeah,
I'm not going to stop my medication, and that ain't no way in the world I'm going to do that. But okay, I'm going to get your input. I was surprised you'd even heard of it, to tell you the truth.
No. I'm actually a certifying physician. I actually certify people for cannabis use because I find it a very good tool in some cases. But it's not for everyone, and it's not for every condition. However, CBD, the non-intoxicating chemical that's in cannabis, and you can get it in just regular hemp, CBD is anti-inflammatory, so it may actually have a bigger impact on blood pressure than THC, the one that makes you drowsy.
Well, the only reason I smoke marijuana is about 10 o'clock at night. I smoke about a third of a joint, and I can go to sleep and sleep very well for about 6-7 hours. If it's not for
many people get that, and that's why a lot of people use it instead of taking sleeping pills, which are addictive.
Yeah, they are very addictive. Okay, well, thank you very much for your input. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Lee. Have a great day.
You too, bud.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Lee. Let's go to Sarah from Wesley Chapel. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning.
Hi.
I have a couple of issues I want to hit on that you just already kind of touched on. I'm pretty furious this morning at allopathic medicine. I've been struggling with nonstop fatigue just like wanting to sleep 9-10 hours a day for the last 6 to 8 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Finally, I put something together in my brain. I want to get your thoughts on it, which is I think the allergy medicine that was prescribed to me, prescription Zyrtec,
Yes.
causes apparently a lot of drowsiness. And then
Yes.
the second thing is I'm on 2 BP meds, lisinopril and carvedilol. And the other thing I've been dealing with is short-term memory loss, and I was looking up the whole don't know how to pronounce it, cholinergic medicines.
Cholinergic.
Yeah, so, I don't know what to take for allergies, so that was my primary question. You've already touched a little bit on, high blood pressure. I don't smoke or do marijuana or CBD in any form. But I'm just wondering, what do you suggest for these kind of standard issues of hay fever, let's call it, and elevated blood pressure?
So you hit it on the nail there. You did great research. You must be a good investigator because Zyrtec, even though it's marketed as a non-drowsy allergy antihistamine, it actually is a drowsy antihistamine. It metabolizes in your body to one of the most potent antihistamines that makes people sleep. It's called hydroxyzine, and Zyrtec metabolizes into that, from what I understand. And so, but it's unfortunate that pilots are allowed to fly on this one because I can tell you that after I've taken one, I'm a zombie. It works just like Benadryl to put me to sleep, and it will last all the next day because it's a delayed response because the initial antihistamine isn't the drowsy one, but it metabolizes through your liver after you've taken it into the drowsy one. And so 8 hours later, you're zonked and your whole day is drowsy. So if you want a better alternative that doesn't do that, fexofenadine or Allegra and loratadine or Claritin are viable alternatives. But there's a natural thing you can do. Orthomolecular nutritional products created something called natural dehist. Natural dehist, D-H-I-S-T, is one of the best natural anti-allergy remedies I've ever used. And it's a combination of stinging nettle leaf, quercetin, bromelain, N-acetylcysteine, vitamin C, and it really helps with these symptoms. So if you're having allergies, I'd get rid of Zyrtec and try some of these other things. And you might want to also try a neti pot to clean out your nose. But carvedilol also causes some drowsiness, so it's probably additive when you put the Zyrtec on board.
Yes, exactly. And what I got so upset about yesterday, I did not take my Zyrtec last night, and I already feel more wide awake today.
Yeah.
What I was so mad about is that, I used to take the loratadine for years, and I think I may have developed a tolerance for it. So that's why I was like, I don't think this allergy medicine's working anymore. Okay, well, here's another one. Here's Zyrtec. I just wish allopathic doctors approach things more, I'll just use the term, from a smorgasbord approach, like, here you can take Zyrtec, which may, it sounds like cause a lot of drowsiness, or there's Allegra is another option. They don't give you options. They just say, here, take this one. And
right. Well, they don't have much time to do it either. but you know exactly. What? My frustration is that they don't talk about the reason. So you have developed a tolerance or, Claritin, loratadine doesn't work for you because underneath it all, you're more inflamed than you were when you began. And so allergies are harder to control. Nobody gives you any instruction on how to calm down the inflammatory stuff in your body. And there's some simple things you can do. And those include get rid of processed foods like bread and cereals. If you're going to eat grain, eat whole oats. Shop the periphery, get your whole vegetables, use the Dirty Dozen and Clean 15 from Environmental Working Group to choose your organic vegetables to be most cost effective. Drink lots of clean water and exercise every day to sweat out the toxins, and take fish oil. All these things are going to help you improve overall your responsiveness to allergies. And the natural dehist calms down your allergy response system rather than just blocking the histamine at its endpoint.
Yes. Well, the other thing I just wanted to say about the high blood pressure meds was the same thing. I had never had high blood pressure before I was hospitalized for sepsis back in 2017.
Oh, there you go. There you go. That was your trigger inflammatory problem, and you still have inflammation that's causing this. So nobody's directed you away from inflammation, which is the source of your blood pressure problem.
Right, and so they put me on metoprolol. So I had the same thing as loratadine. Took metoprolol since 2018 up until about a year ago, and I was like, I'm not sure this is working anymore. So, here's carvedilol then. You know, no investigation, no thoroughness. So I appreciate you, Dr. Harvey. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, you know that there is no such thing as a blood pressure medicine. That's the fallacy. There are a couple of chemicals out there like carvedilol and metoprolol, which are similar. They work to block adrenaline at the receptor site. They're not antihypertensives. They're actually blocking a communication. And so that has all kinds of other effects. Lisinopril blocks a communication at the angiotensin receptor. It doesn't allow angiotensin to get there because it doesn't allow angiotensin to be created. And so it's about communication. And there's no such thing as an antihypertensive. That's a word that they made up so they could talk about it, but it's a chemical that affects your vascular system in different ways. And so I think it would be great if my colleagues would begin to talk about things in real terms instead of in the illusion in which they live.
Agree. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
You've got a great laugh there. Let's
she
go.
Does. I'm glad I got a laugh out of her because I'm kind of serious, but honestly, this is almost stand-up comedy watching these people.
Certainly true. Well, let's go to Kelly. I've got Kelly, Ed, and then Sandy. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning, Dr. Harvey.
How are you?
A question. I am 82. I have osteoarthritis, a lot of pain, stiffness, but I move, I walk, I tend my garden, and I am pretty healthy considering.
Yes.
My situation now is they sent me to do osteoporosis test, and now they're saying I am approaching osteoporosis.
Yes.
And they hit me with 4 tablets once a week on an empty stomach, sitting down only, no laying down.
What's the medication?
70 milligram of saline, some type of saline, Fosamax.
Oh, it's Fosamax, okay.
And I do not like tablets. And I said I rather take more of my calcium by my foods, which I like dairy, I like cottage cheese, I like, and although I have to take that little, don't digest it very well without that little tablet.
Yes.
I like all of the foods that give me calcium.
But calcium may not be the issue for you. How tall are you?
5'6".
5'6". So
weigh 150.
okay, so your ideal protein intake would be for somebody who has osteoporosis. You should be looking maybe around 100 grams of protein a day to begin building your bones, because protein is what you need to build strong bones, because it's the protein to which the calcium gets attached. And so if you're not getting enough protein in your diet, you probably will not be able to build strong bones, even with Fosamax. And people who don't get enough protein and who take Fosamax have a risk of getting very brittle bones and more fractures. And so if they didn't tell you to address the protein, they're actually a little negligent, in my opinion.
That's what my daughters tell me, that I need to eat more protein, because
yes. Do you eat protein for all 3 meals?
Not very. Not. I am satisfied with a couple ounces of. I make my own organic broth.
Mm-hmm.
From organic bones.
Very good.
But I'm satisfied with a little bit of chicken or a little bit of meat. I do a lot of fish as often as possible.
So you could do fish or shrimp. They're very good protein sources. But for your problem, you probably should be getting, in terms of real food, something like 2 eggs in the morning and 4 ounces of fish at lunch and 4 ounces of fish or chicken at dinner. That's going to get you closer to your needs being met. You can also use a protein shake, like ones made with a vegetable protein, like pea and rice protein. There's all kinds of options, but you need to get more protein to support the bones.
That's what my daughters tell me, because I am losing less and less appetite for that.
Oh, and that's hard too. There's a test that your doctor can do to see how your bone is responding as far as protein. It's called N-telopeptide, N-telopeptide. That urine test can tell us if you're losing bone collagen. And that's really important to know. You want that level to be very low. If it's high, then you know you need to do more work. Fosamax isn't my favorite choice of medication because it gives a lot of people heartburn, and there's all those restrictions about doing it on the empty stomach and sitting up. But there are other options, injections like Forteo and Prolia. And so there are other options out there for you.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Harvey. Blessings.
You're welcome. Take care, Kelly.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okie doke. Let's go to Ed in Tampa. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Doc. Thank you for taking my call.
You're welcome.
I'm calling for my father. He had three. His heart's been out of rhythm, so he had electric shocks to his heart 3 times since November of last year. And he just had one 2 weeks ago. And
what did he have? Atrial fibrillation?
No, they say nope. That's what they don't. They just go. You just say keep jumping out of rhythm. And they gave him medicine the last time, stronger medicine. What was supposed to hold it only lasts for like a week that time.
And what medicine?
First, I couldn't tell you the name of it, Doc. It's supposed to have been what they told us that was he had a little hole in his heart. It's supposed to help fill it up, and they shocked him and put him back in rhythm. So he got the pressure off his chest for like 2 days, and then he got to feeling back bad again. So because my dad is very active, he's 79 years old, but now he just don't do nothing, and they just did it again last Monday. And so we waited a few days to see if it's going to make him feel any better. He said, no, the pressure is gone, but he's feeling very, very bad. So I just want to look at something else that can recommend.
Well, not knowing what the rhythm is, but hearing your description, it sounds like it could be a tachycardia. Atrial fibrillation is often what they use that electrical shock to cardiovert. And so my assumption is this is probably atrial fibrillation. And there's two principal causes for atrial fibrillation, and that is sleep apnea and excessive alcohol use.
Don't use alcohol. He sleeps like a bear.
Yes, but he may have a sleep disorder that's undiagnosed.
Okay.
So if it is atrial fibrillation, I would suggest that somebody check him out for sleep apnea because it's a preventable cause.
Okay. All right. That's something I haven't heard yet. So, okay. Thank you very much, Doc. Great show.
You're very welcome. Take care, Ed. Hope your dad does well.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Best wishes to your dad, and I know your family's worrying too, so best to y'all. Let's go to Sandy, but first I want to remind folks that you are listening to the Healthy Steps Radio Show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa, and we're inviting you to participate by calling 813-239-9663. Again, the number is 813-239-9663. And you can also continue to send your emails to dj@wmnf.org. Good morning, Sandy.
Good morning, Dr. Harvey.
Hi, Sandy.
Hi. You touched on heavy metals building up in the body, and I just wanted to ask you if you've heard of a product called Cell Defender made by Aveni in Florida, and whether you think that would be a good way to go to remove them.
I have never heard of it. And you say it's made by Davini?
Aveni, Avini.
Oh, it's zeolite. I don't use zeolite. I have never thought to use zeolite. I have trouble with it because nobody's ever actually provided me. I've asked about 5 different companies to provide me with the long-term animal safety data, and they've never provided anything. My problem with zeolite is that it is a nanoparticulate aluminum silicate. There's another nanoparticulate aluminum silicate that causes some problems. It's called asbestos. And asbestos has a different structure than zeolite, and zeolite may be very helpful, but there's so many other useful tools that we can use to actually remove heavy metals and toxins from the body that I don't use zeolite. I don't trust it because nobody has ever given me safety data. But I do use, what's that?
Is that the active ingredient in the product you're saying, zeolite?
Yeah. Cell Defender seems to be zeolite.
Okay.
And so the product that I use is one that I developed called Chelex, Chelex. It's a combination of plant extracts. There's some N-acetylcysteine because it's a great mercury binder, and it also works with DMSA, which is an amino acid that used to be in the formula, but in 2007 the FDA decided it wasn't a nutritional supplement anymore, so they took it out. Fortunately, I'm a doctor and I can prescribe it. I designed Chelex to work with DMSA to pull out mercury specifically because DMSA is empowered by the other chemicals in the Chelex, but then the Chelex also takes out other things. There's even some shilajit, which is a peat product. Some people call it fulvic and humic acids. It binds up mercury, but it also binds up petrochemical toxins and mold toxins. So that's my go-to for detox. It's called Chelex, Chelex.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, I've got Marcia in Tarpon Springs and Chris in Clearwater. Let's go to Marcia. Good morning, Marcia.
Good morning.
Hi.
Can you hear me all right?
I can. What do you have for us today?
My question is, I have high LDL, and I just started taking a statin, which I had never wanted to do. And several of my friends are going, oh, you shouldn't be taking that. What are your thoughts on statins for reducing LDL levels?
Well, statins are highly effective in doing that kind of stuff. But I tend to start people with lifestyle and dietary approaches to begin with. Was your total cholesterol also elevated?
Just slightly. It's like, I can't remember offhand, but it's not that high. It's not over 300.
Okay. And did anybody do your particle breakdown to see what type of LDL you have?
No.
Oh, that's sad. Did anybody check your LP little a, or lipoprotein A?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about as well, because they, on the nightly news last night, they said that is a true killer, the stealth cholesterol, lipoprotein A. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it drives high LDL, so it's worth it to get it checked. Quest Labs has a test called Advanced Lipid Panel, and that one looks at the breakdown of the types of LDL cholesterol and HDL cholesterol you have to see how risky your pattern is, and also it looks at lipoprotein little a. But there's another test you can do that can help you decide how you're going to approach dealing with higher cholesterol, and that's called the Boston Heart Labs cholesterol balance test. That looks at whether you absorb more from your diet or whether you produce more in your liver. And LP little a,
you said
that's a
cholesterol balance test in Boston?
Yeah, the Boston Heart Cholesterol Balance.
Boston Heart Cholesterol Balance, okay.
And so those are some things that would give more information to help you manage it.
Right. That sounds like a very good thing to do. I was going to ask you about that lipoprotein A. And I have sleep apnea. I have sleep apnea, and I use I think it's called Dream something machine. But I wake up most mornings with this most gravelly voice. Ordinarily, like right now, my voice is not its normal sound. Well, and I was just wondering, is there anything you can do to alleviate that?
Well, is your machine a CPAP machine that forces air in?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Do you humidify it?
No, I don't.
Then you need to do humidification, because that's what's happening. You're drying out in the night.
Okay. I'll
Another question for you. Has your sleep apnea been checked? Have you been assessed as to whether or not your blood oxygen goes low at night, even on the CPAP?
Well, I've had several sleep tests done, night sleep tests.
Yeah, so while you were using the CPAP, they did one?
Yes.
And when was the last time they did that?
Probably about 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's worth it to get an overnight oximetry. You can just check the oxygen at night. If you drop below 90, you're not successfully treating your sleep apnea, and that's going to cause an elevated LDL cholesterol.
Okay, so it's a blood oxygenation test.
Yeah, most people don't check that afterwards. They just look at the machine and see if you're having incidents. And if you're wearing it for 6 hours a night and you have fewer incidents, they think that it's a success. But I check people regularly and they have low oxygen still. That actually is what causes the problems from sleep apnea. So if you're still getting low oxygen, you need another approach.
Okay.
And so nobody checks the oxygen though.
What do you think about the Inspire?
Actually, one of my clients is just getting that implanted. I don't know much about it yet. I see that they have research that says it works.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I know if I don't use the CPAP, my heart starts fibrillating a little bit, like if I let
go. Okay, so it's working to at least some extent.
Yeah, it seems to be. They said I'd gone from in the 90s, 90 times a minute down to 30 times a minute.
Wow. I think that's over the course of the whole night. That's because that's a lot otherwise.
Yeah.
But still, if you're having 30 incidents, maybe you're not getting oxygen some of those times.
Okay. Well, I'll have to have that checked again. Thank you so much for your help.
You're welcome. Have a great day, Marcia. Good luck with that problem.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okie dokie. I've got Chris from Clearwater on the line. Good morning, Chris.
Hey, Chris, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Good morning. And I was just calling because the lady with the bone density issue, I just emailed you just a few moments ago. I know you haven't had the chance to review it, but have you heard of microcrystalline hydroxyapatite supplements for increasing bone density?
Yes, it's the only thing I've been using for the last about 25 years. Bone calcium is the way to get calcium. The one I use is from organic New Zealand calf bones, cleaned of any kind of other proteins or issues, and it's just calcium hydroxyapatite, which is calcium phosphate, which is just like in your bones. It's a great tool for getting bones more healthy.
All right. What's that product?
I'm sorry?
What's the name of that product? That's organic, you say?
Oh yeah, it's there's a couple of them. OSA Plex is a combination that I use. OSA is orthosilicic acid. It's been shown to actually increase your collagen production internally, type 1 collagen. So I use that with it. But the other one is I think the brand is called Osopan. And it's from Zymogen, Xymogen.
Okay, great. I'll have to look that up because the 3 products I've found that are not organic, as far as I know, that I've been enjoying taking over the years, and just because they have a wide array of other nutrients for helping bone health. And I had a great look with it starting back in the 90s when I had loose teeth and they firmed right up, and all my dental x-rays always show that there's good bone density, especially around the teeth. A friend who broke her femur, diagnosed with severe osteoporosis, started taking it, and after a year, no longer had it, just mild osteopenia after a year, and really amazed her doctors. So
that's excellent.
I'm scared about the bisphosphonates like Fosfomax because I know they cause bone necrosis, and I know there are case studies where that's killed people, where their jawbone is rotted away and died. So I'm concerned about that.
It is a concern, and I see that mostly in people that don't eat enough. People that are protein malnourished tend to get that problem, and that's a lot of older people with cancer and other things like that. They're at big risk, and they don't get enough protein calories to nourish them.
Yeah, I found even though I eat a lot of protein-rich animal foods, beef and chicken, I found that I feel a lot better taking a product called Perfect Amino. I tend to wake up more refreshed and have more energy. So
it's free form aminos. It's really good.
Yeah. And the other thing I emailed you about is just a recent Yale study from about a month ago, not peer-reviewed, showing that I'm not sure if I understood you correctly, that it was showing that the spike protein from those who got a COVID mRNA shot was still in circulation for the length of the study, which is 709 days, and other studies I just emailed you on showing that for the length of the studies, there's a spike protein circulating, of course, causing all sorts of issues. So I wanted to see if I misunderstood you. Did you say that that's the case with the spike protein or with the virus?
Did I say what was the case with it?
People have gotten the mRNA shot so that the spike protein is still circulating continually, or that it stops?
It depends on the person. And Bruce Patterson, who is the developer of the long COVID test, COVID long hauler test, he actually has been a virologist studying this stuff since HIV came out, and he discovered that a specific subset of white blood cells called macrophages carry a reservoir of the spike protein in some people, and they will actually disgorge it under stress. They'll kind of vomit it up, and then it starts irritating the system again. And so he has a secondary test where you can actually look for the spike protein presence in the body in people you suspect with having long COVID. And I think it's really helpful, but most people don't access this level of testing because they don't know about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to alarm people. I don't want the cortisol levels going up. And I know I had a spike protein antibody test, and they came back negative, fortunately. But
that's actually, the spike protein antibody test would come back negative probably a year out from a COVID infection, or shorter after, like 6 months later after a shot. And so this test doesn't look at actually the spike protein antibodies. It looks for the spike protein.
Yeah. I also came up negative antibodies for the SARS-CoV-2 virus, but
so you never had it. That's good.
Yeah, well, I think it's because I have so many antiviral minerals in my system, plus I have ozone blowing all the time.
Yes.
The theory that my doctor had was that my immune system might have been suppressed, causing some issues over a year ago, and caused by being shed on, perhaps, by people who got the mRNA shots. So I'm glad about that, but I'm so concerned about other people who may not know what's going on with them, and I may have to do something remedially to dissolve the spike protein, maybe proteolytic enzymes. And of course, about nattokinase and things like that. But that's
sure. I think anybody's dealing with an inflammatory condition would not be hurt and would probably benefit from taking proteolytic enzymes, and including nattokinase and other things like that. I think it's really helpful to support your system that way.
Yeah, and the Japanese biodistribution study showing that it goes all throughout the body. They told us it would only stay in the arm, and would only shut off after the spike production would shut off after 2 weeks, and
we know that vaccines go systemic, and then if anybody ever actually stated that it would stay in the arm, they're delusional or they were lying, because that's not the way biology works. So
and they said that we'd be protected, there'd be sterilizing immunity, and of course that...
Well, they said all kinds of things. They even said that ivermectin doesn't work. So yeah, we know that the system lies to get things done that they want done. Chris, always great talking with you, and thanks for the emails. I'll read them.
All right, thank you. Take care.
You too.
All right, we've gotten to the worst part of the show, and that's when the boards go dark. So I'm going to let you catch on up on some emails there while I remind folks that they're listening to the Healthy Steps Radio Show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa, and we're inviting you to participate by giving us a call at 813-239-9663. Once again, that number is 813-239-9663. And as I said, the magic word email, you can send an email to dj@wmnf.org. What have you got there, Doctor?
Well, here's one. Trudy asks, are there any cures for plantar fasciitis? I've had it for 3 weeks now, and it's killing me. I got a cortisone shot, and it didn't help. So plantar fasciitis occurs because of improper walking, improper posture, putting weight on the wrong parts of the foot. Probably leaning forward into the ball of the foot and stretching out your plantar fascia. If you can learn to sit back on your heel, which is painful right now, that would be a better thing. But you might want to go to a physical therapist, see a chiropractor who uses class 4 laser, or find a muscle activation technique specialist in your area to help you figure out better posture and work on this from different ways. Because honestly, cortisone shots don't help this because they don't help you redirect the way your body's not moving appropriately. Samuel asks, good morning. My wife and I switched from smoking to disposable nicotine vapes a couple years ago and are curious about how urgent is that we quit these as well. It is just as urgent as quitting cigarettes. You get a little less tar in the vape, but you still get all the chemicals that they put into the carrier fluid, and you get nicotine. And nicotine is a problem. The chemicals they put in there may be just kind of plasticizing your lungs. So it's probably a good idea to throw those away too when you get a chance. There are lots of good programs out there to help, but let's try a different method because we have now good evidence that these things are toxic. Let's see. This looks like it's come from Anonymous. And something about RFK. What's wrong with him not liking what they're putting in our foods and new vaccines? Toxins in our food and cow serum in our vaccines. The FDA is not looking out for us. Just read the ingredients that the FDA allows in our food. Toxins that are making us sick. So yes, there's nothing wrong with RFK not liking what they're putting in our foods. Nothing wrong at all. But I didn't mention that in my takedown of RFK today. The more dangerous things that RFK is doing are what I'm concerned about. And one of those is declassifying vaccines. He wants to make sure that they are not protected against lawsuits because he has a son who works in a law firm that will begin suing them as soon as they're available for suit. And so I don't trust an oligarch with an agenda. I don't think you should either. Here's another one. Let's see. This is Fred, an RN BSN from Upper Michigan. Regarding planned mortality of this administration, I agree that it's intentional. Decreased funding of the CDC, the NIH, reducing Medicare, Medicaid, it's going to have a significant impact on healthcare. And it seems that the president currently is making peace with disease rather than fighting against it. Yeah, it does seem to be that. Because, spending federal tax dollars to help people who don't have access to healthcare eliminates a whole bunch of useless eaters because they'll die and then they won't have to actually be worried about it anymore. Hate to be so cynical, but that is kind of the brush off kind of attitude that we seem to be experiencing here, pretty sadly. Here's one from Ron. I just read Robin Bloomfield's book. He wrote about only eating food he grew or foraged for 1 year. He also talks about food as medicine, robingreenfield.org. Sounds brilliant. I'm going to go there because my food forest in Sarasota is something I'm very happy with and really want to continue to teach people about how to do this. And you'll get some more tips on that kind of stuff in the show that follows me up. Sustainable Living is brilliant in giving us direction in that way. How are we doing on callers, Bill?
Well, we're down to about 1 minute, so let's go to Michelle in Largo and see if she can get a question in and out. Good morning, Michelle.
Hi, yes. I just have a question. Do you have any recommendations on like a parasitic cleanse? Just a general parasitic cleanse?
That's really interesting. I just had a talk with one of my clients about that who did a 3-week cleanse and felt terrible afterwards. Frankly, I've been doing this for 30 years and I've never found a parasite that was really a problem. I don't believe that parasite cleanses are necessary. If you look at World Health Organization data globally, there's a study that they did that showed that when you compare countries' Alzheimer's rates to parasitosis rates, the countries with the highest parasitosis rates have the lowest Alzheimer's. There's a big discussion about why that may be the case. But I think the really simple part is the people that actually have the most parasites eat more whole foods than people that don't. Because the people that don't live in Europe and America and they eat these processed foods that are so distant from actual real whole foods that their bodies don't know what to do. And then there's no food for the parasites either. I have done thousands of parasite tests and found very few. So I don't believe this hokey stuff on the internet about doing parasite cleanses.
I'm so glad you said that because it does make you feel very sick, and that's what I was trying to avoid. So
yeah, exactly. Don't torture yourself. The people that use that and they use the words healing and crisis in the same sentence are crazy. There's no healing crisis. That's just a crisis. So stop it. And on that note, thank you for calling in. This is a great show. Excellent interaction today. Thank you, Bill, for hosting the boards and Irene for screening all my callers. Thank you so much for all your work. And I'll be back next week with some more Ask Me Anything.
Well, and we're all looking forward to that, Doctor. And I want to thank you for another excellent show. I really enjoyed it and learned a couple of things. And I want to thank all of our listeners and participants for making this show special. And certainly a shout out to Irene for handling the phones today. To everybody out there, take care and stay healthy. You have been listening to the Healthy Steps Radio Show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa. Coming on up next is 5 minutes of NPR headline news, followed by the Sustainable Living Show, hosted by the supreme team of Tanya Vidovic and Annie Ellis. Until next Monday at 10 a.m., thank you for supporting and listening to the Healthy Steps Radio Show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa, your community conscious radio station. Stay safe, stay thoughtful, and know that you are loved.